I became involved with the Justice for Jordan Miles movement because when I saw these images of Jordan posted on my television, I became involved with the Justice for Jordan Miles movement because when I saw these horrific images of Jordan posted on my television, they were instantly embedded in my mind. The gruesome details of Jordan's dreadful encounter with 3 plainclothes detectives drove me to outrage, as I'm sure is true for many of you. With each passing day, the news revealed more and more that made it painfully obvious that this was a complete and utter travesty that should have never happened. I have no children of my own, but I began to wonder how it would feel if something like this were to happen to my own nephews, one of whom are with me today. They live only 1 street over from Tioga where this savage act occurred. Just the consideration of this made me realize that the emotions that the Miles family must have been going through, and it made me feel very empathetic. So I participated in the June 12th march last year and have been involved in the struggle ever since. To Jordan, I would like to thank you for finding the courage and strength to join us in these recent protests. I would also like you to know that there are many more people here with you in spirit than who is here today.
Went that way.
Over the course of the past year, I've gone into Homewood, East Liberty, Highland Park, and I went to Shinley Park during the Black Family Reunion. I handed out flyers and I asked people to sign petitions. I approached hundreds of people and I've had hundreds of brief conversations about your ordeal. I would often walk up and ask, are you familiar with Jordan Miles? Those who didn't instantly recognize the name knew who I was talking about as soon as I mentioned ripped out dreadlocks and elusive Mountain Dew. I can only recall one woman who outright refused to sign the petition. Otherwise, the overwhelming majority of the people that I spoke to displayed genuine concern and heartfelt sympathy for you, along with anger and rage for what you were forced to endure. Many people asked me how you were doing and if I knew you personally. Most people, upon hearing what the petition was for, snatched it right out of my hands to sign, and many made sure that any friends and family members who were close by also signed it as well. We approached everyone we saw on the street, students, people en route to and from work, people leaving bars, church ladies, young urban street dwellers. I even recall approaching a large group of apparent addicts who, after hearing us out, all eagerly signed their names. I heard several accounts from people how they or someone close to them had been victims of police brutality. It is very clear that people are fed up and disgusted with the fact that our communities are quite often treated like occupied territories. Your experience touched many hearts, and all were more than willing to sign the demands for justice I have presented them with. A lot of people thank me for my presence in the community and for the work that I was doing. Going out to the street and trying to do good for somebody else and working for a just cause and trying to correct an illness of our society is very uplifting. It gave me a strong sense of purpose and made me feel very good inside. I would strongly suggest that all members of government and law enforcement try to do this as well. After all, isn't this what you're actually supposed to be doing?
Yes.
Yeah! It is very hard for me to visualize what happened to Jordan that night without being reminded of what I learned in history about slave catchers. These were men who were paid to travel north from the south to hunt down and capture runaway slaves. Some fugitive slave laws made it acceptable to kill those who resisted arrest, and the slave owner would be reimbursed by the government. On several occasions, free men were suspected or accused of being fugitive slaves simply because they were black. They were brutally delivered to a plantation where they would be free no more. On the night of January 12, 2010, Officers Ewing, Salduddy, and Sisak saw a young man who they perceived to be a slave to the streets and to allure on illegal activities. These policemen acted like the slave catchers, eager to return this young man to the captivity which they thought he belonged. Just as the enslaved ancestors were neither respected, treated, or even acknowledged as humans, neither was Jordan Miles. He was beaten to within inches of his life. As he was beaten to within inches of his life, he held firm to his faith, for which he was further beaten. Since then, it has come to light that Jordan was not, and is not, a slave to any corruptive influences that lurk in his neighborhood.
No, he's not.
is a gifted and talented young man in pursuit of a positive destiny. Unfortunately, the night after he reached the age of legal adulthood, he had a near-fatal collision with 3 intoxicated men. Drunken with the power and authority awarded them by their badges, they veered over the double yellow lines of justice, caused a head-on collision with this young man, almost ending his life. Recently, we've been told that this was a teachable moment and that it is time to heal. What are we supposed to learn from this besides the police can get away with almost killing the young and innocent? How are we supposed to heal when there is no attempt to diagnose and remove the disease? When you won't even admit that what happened to Jordan was wrong? I would like to quote one of my favorite rappers, KRS-One, and pose this question. You were put here to protect us, but who protects us from you? If this is a land that is supposed to be run by and for the people, then give the people what we want. We want justice for Jordan Miles, and we want it now. Fire and prosecute the 3 officers who are responsible for this. Thank you all very much.
On us since we have been doing this. People ask, why are you at the courthouse when no one is there? We will be back, and I will be letting you know that before we leave. We will be back when the courthouse is open, when the DA is here, but we will be here to deliver the petitions that you all and the rest of the city have signed. We came last year and did the same thing while he was in office. He didn't show his face. He sent his spokesperson out to give us a message that he could not conduct the investigation while the Department of Justice was doing such. Well, now the Department of Justice investigation is ended. It is over. And now it is time for him to stand up and do what he said he would do in the beginning. I understand the struggle that our DA goes through, that our chief goes through in a corrupting city that they are involved in. I understand the struggle to stand up against people above you for what's right and what people elected you to do. I understand the struggle, but in the midst of corruption, you are supposed to uphold justice. Someone has to stand up besides us who is in a position of authority to do something about this. So we plead with DA Zapata today, and we also care enough to help him in his decision by giving him the charges that he so seemingly cannot find for these 3 officers to be charged with.
Amen.
Every time I think about this case and think about how long we have been out here in this fight, it saddens me. It honestly saddens me. I have shed tears about this, and he's not my child, but he is my child. And he is. And that is what I want people to understand. That Jordan Miles is an individual, but he is representative of a collective. He is representative of all of us, of all of our children at that. It is our responsibility as people to stand up for one another in the midst of injustice. It is our responsibility as people to ensure that the city we live in is the city that we want, not the city that they hand us. What?